Welcome back to our channel. Today, we have a very serious topic: the situation in Ayungin Shoal following the recent collision between a China Coast Guard vessel and a People's Liberation Army Navy warship at Scarborough Shoal last August 11, 2025. According to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Chinese activities have suddenly increased and become more aggressive in the waters around Ayungin Shoal. The question now is, what does this mean? Is China trying to retaliate after the incident in Scarborough? And how will this impact the safety of our troops and the security of the entire region? In this video, we will revisit the events that happened, explain the AFP's monitoring reports, and discuss the possible direction of tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Why is Ayungin Shoal so important? Ayungin Shoal, also known internationally as Second Thomas Shoal, is part of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. It lies just about 105 nautical miles from Palawan. At the center of this shoal rests the BRP Sierra Madre, a World War II-era ship deliberately grounded there and now serving as an outpost manned by Philippine Marines. This ship has become a crucial symbol of Philippine sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea. Despite its deteriorating condition, it represents our firm stance in asserting our territorial rights. For this reason, the Philippine Navy and Coast Guard conduct regular resupply missions to deliver food, water, and other essentials to our troops stationed on the Sierra Madre. However, as we all know, China consistently attempts to block or interfere with these resupply missions, often using its Coast Guard and Maritime militia. On August 11, 2025, an unusual and shocking event took place. A China Coast Guard vessel collided with a warship of the People's Liberation Army Navy inside Scarborough Shoal. This was highly unexpected, as the CCG and the plan are both Chinese forces. Incidents like this are rare and immediately drew the attention of the entire region and even the wider international community. While investigations are still ongoing, analysts suggest that the collision may have been caused by maneuvering errors or miscommunication between the two Chinese services. Others believe it reflects underlying tensions and lack of coordination within China's maritime forces. Regardless of the cause, it was a major embarrassment for Beijing, as images and reports of the collision spread quickly. Now, some experts believe that the sudden increase in Chinese activity in Ayungin Shoal may be an attempt by China to recover or retaliate after the Scarborough incident, shifting the focus outward and demonstrating strength against the Philippines. According to the AFP's Maritime Domain Awareness Monitoring, Chinese presence in Ayungin Shoal significantly increased on August 20th. 5 China Coast Guard vessels were observed conducting maneuvers and drills, including the use of water cannons. 11 smaller craft, such as RHIBs and fast boats, were also deployed. What's more concerning is that some of these fast boats were visibly upgraded with mounted heavy crew-served weapons. In addition, 9 Chinese maritime militia vessels were detected in the area, and aerial support was also spotted, 1 helicopter and 1 unmanned aerial vehicle. This is no ordinary patrol. The level of coordination, the number of vessels, and the presence of armed fast boats all indicate a military-style deployment. What does this mean? First, China is sending a clear message. They will not back down. They want to show that they can intimidate and pressure the Philippines whenever they choose. Second, this could be an act of retaliation. After the embarrassing collision at Scarborough Shoal, Beijing may want to project strength in another part of the West Philippine Sea, this time targeting the vulnerable Philippine outpost at Ayungin Shoal. Third, it signals to the world that China continues to reject the Hague ruling of 2016 and insists on enforcing its controversial 9-line claim over almost the entire South China Sea. This escalation directly endangers the Philippine Marines stationed on BRP Sierra Madre. Their survival depends entirely on regular resupply missions. If China continues to block or escalate harassment against these missions, our soldiers could face severe shortages of food, water, and basic necessities. In previous years, China primarily used ramming and water cannons to disrupt resupply. Now the situation is more dangerous. Some of their fast boats are armed with mounted weapons. This dramatically increases the risk of miscalculation. A single mistake or misunderstanding could escalate into a live fire incident, an outcome that would be extremely dangerous, not only for the Philippines, but for the entire region. This is not just a Philippine issue. The South China Sea is one of the world's most important trade routes, carrying trillions of dollars worth of goods each year. If tensions escalate, international shipping and the principle of freedom of navigation will be affected. This is why countries like the United States, Japan, Australia, and even European allies have consistently supported the Philippines. Every time China becomes more aggressive, global sympathy and support for the Philippines grows stronger. But sympathy alone is not enough. The real question is, how far will these allies go if the situation escalates into open conflict? Will they limit themselves to diplomatic statements, or will they actively intervene? The AFP's monitoring is crucial. It provides concrete evidence of Chinese aggression and harassment, which can be presented to the international community. Documented reports make it harder for China to deny their actions. However, monitoring alone will not solve the problem. The real challenge is how to continue resupply missions to Ayungin Shoal without triggering open conflict. This will be the biggest test for the AFP and the Philippine Coast Guard in the coming weeks and months. There are several possible scenarios ahead. 1. Show of force. China may continue sending more vessels to Ayungin Shoal without direct confrontation, simply maintaining pressure. 2. Blockade. China could escalate to a full blockade, preventing resupply missions altogether. This would trigger strong international protest and further damage China's image. 3. Armed clash. The worst-case scenario. Given the presence of mounted weapons, there is a higher risk of an armed confrontation, whether by accident or deliberate action. What can the Philippines do? First, continue filing diplomatic protests. These may seem symbolic, but they are essential for building a record of China's repeated violations. Second, strengthen alliances. Joint patrols and cooperation with the United States, Japan, Australia, and other partners are more important than ever. Third, maintain the morale of our troops and the Filipino public. The government must show that it is committed to defending our soldiers at Ayungin and protecting our territory. Why is China doing this? There are several possible reasons. 1. Preventing Sierra Madre's reinforcement. China does not want the Philippines to repair or strengthen BRP Sierra Madre. They want it to eventually collapse and force the Philippines out of Ayungin Shoal. 2. Testing the United States. By pushing the boundaries, China may be testing how far Washington is willing to go under the Mutual Defense Treaty. 3. Domestic politics. Following the embarrassing collision at Scarborough Shoal, the Chinese leadership may be trying to rally nationalist sentiment at home by taking a tougher stance abroad. In summary, the AFP has reported a major increase of Chinese presence in Ayungin Shoal: 5 Coast Guard ships, 11 fast boats, 9 militia vessels, plus aerial support. This escalation comes shortly after the August 11th collision between the China Coast Guard and the People's Liberation Army Navy in Scarborough Shoal, and could represent retaliation or a show of force. The situation is highly dangerous for our troops stationed on BRP Sierra Madre, and it poses risks to regional stability and global trade. At the same time, it has drawn increased international attention and support for the Philippines. The challenge for our country is to continue defending Ayungin Shoal without escalating into war, and to ensure that our Marines are not cut off from resupply. This is one of the greatest tests of Philippine sovereignty in recent history. We must remain vigilant, united, and prepared for whatever comes next.